The Whispering Stone. Part 1. The House on Moor Road. I first heard about the stone from an old man at a gas station off Highway 21. He looked like he'd been there since the pumps were built, half fossilized, half pissed off. I was just looking for directions, trying to find a place called Dagger Hollow. The man narrowed his eyes and spat onto the pavement like I'd just asked to marry his daughter. "You don't want to go near that place," he said. "And you sure as hell don't want to go near the stone." I thought he was talking about some rock formation or local superstition, the kind they'd put on postcards to lure in road-tripping families. I gave him a polite nod and said I'd be careful. Then I made the mistake of asking where it was. He didn't answer. Just walked back into the building and locked the door. An hour later, I found the house on Moor Road. It didn't look like much. Just an old colonial with sagging gutters, flaking paint, and a single porch light swinging in the breeze. The lawn was overgrown, the gravel driveway nearly swallowed by weeds. There was no mailbox. No address. But the map I'd printed from the library said it was the place. The land used to belong to a family named Harrow. Nobody I asked in town would tell me what happened to them, just muttered phrases like, "bad blood," or, "on quiet ground." I'd come to investigate the place for a book I'd been working on, Regional Legends, Unexplained Vanishings, Cursed Landmarks. I figured this place would be just another haunted footnote. But even as I stepped out of the car and onto the gravel, I felt it. Not fear. Not exactly. Pressure. Like something just beneath the surface of the land was watching me. Waiting. The front door was unlocked. The inside of the house smelled like wet earth and old books. Dust coated everything. Cobwebs draped from the ceiling like faded curtains. A grandfather clock in the hall ticked weakly, though it had no hands. In the living room, every surface was covered in plastic sheets. The wallpaper peeled in long, curling strips. I set my bags down and did a slow walk-through, snapping photos and recording notes. Upstairs, I found 3 bedrooms. One still had toys on the shelves, wooden horses, a cracked porcelain doll with eyes too wide open. Another had thick black mold blooming across the ceiling. The last was nearly empty, save for a mattress on the floor and a circle of ash surrounding it. That was my first real warning. I ignored it. I unpacked in the room with the mold, set up my camera, and left the recorder running through the night. At 3:17 a.m., it caught something. A whisper. Soft and breathless, just beneath the static. "Let me out." When I played it back in the morning, I thought it must have been some ambient noise. The house creaking. Wind. My own breathing, maybe. But I kept the clip. Something about the tone, it wasn't asking. It was demanding. Later that day, I found the cellar. The door was hidden behind a collapsed bookshelf in the hall. It opened with a scream, hinges rusted near shut. The stairs creaked under my weight, groaning like something sleeping in the dark below didn't appreciate being disturbed. The air grew colder the farther I went. The smell, damp stone and rot, got stronger. The light from my flashlight flickered the moment I reached the bottom step. The cellar was mostly empty. Dirt floor. Walls of old stone and mortar. But at the far end of the room, partially buried in the ground, was the stone. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. 4 feet tall, jagged and black as tar, It jutted from the earth like a broken fawn. The surface was covered in deep etchings, symbols that pulsed faintly in the dark. They weren't carved. They were grown, like veins of some unnatural mineral. I stepped closer and felt the pressure again, stronger now. Like the stone wasn't just watching. It was listening. Something inside me twisted. A gut-deep instinct told me not to touch it. So, naturally, I did. The moment my fingers grazed the surface, the air changed. A pressure in my ears. A sudden stillness in the dust. Then laughter. Not around me. In me. I yanked my hand back and stumbled. My flashlight flickered violently, then died. For one perfect second, I heard nothing. Then the whisper returned. Not through my ears. Inside my head. Let me out. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, back to the wall, recorder in my lap. The lights buzzed low. My breath clouded in front of me despite the summer heat. At 4 a.m., the whisper came again. This time, from the hallway. No recorder. No static. Clear. Sharp. Right behind me. Let me out. I turned and saw nothing. No movement. No shape. But the feeling didn't leave. Something had followed me up from the cellar. It didn't want to be hidden anymore. The next morning I packed my gear. I told myself I'd leave, write the story from memory, and never come back. But when I went to unlock the front door, the key snapped in the knob. Then the handle turned on its own. The door swung inward. And there, standing on the threshold, was the girl from the upstairs bedroom. Except now her porcelain eyes were gone. And her smile stretched far too wide. She stepped inside. And behind her, something moved through the fog that hadn't been there a moment ago. Something tall and crooked, dragging long fingers across the floorboards. The whisper didn't come from behind me this time. It came from within my chest. And it said, "You let me out." Part 2, The Black Vein. I didn't remember falling asleep. One moment I was staring into the girl's eyeless face. The next I was lying on the floor with blood on my tongue and the taste of soil in my mouth. Something had crawled in while I was unconscious. Not physically, but inside me. The house felt different now. Not just haunted. Changed. The air was thicker. Greasier. It clung to my skin, got into my teeth. The windows were blacked out, though no curtains had been drawn. It was like the outside world had simply stopped existing. All light cut off. No birds. No wind. Just silence, wrapped tight as a noose. I tried every door. All of them were gone. Not locked, gone. No hinges. No handles. Just smooth, blank walls where entryways used to be. The house had closed itself. I was inside something's body now. I should have screamed. Should have lost my mind. But all I could think about was the stone. The moment I touched it, something happened. A link. A door opened. And now that thing, whatever lived beneath it, was waking up. Maybe it already was. My recorder was still in my jacket pocket. I turned it on and began speaking, documenting, whispering to keep from breaking apart. I didn't know if anyone would hear it. I didn't even know if I would hear it again. But the habit grounded me. Around noon, or what I guessed was noon, the ceiling above the living room cracked. A thin line, no more than a hair's width. But it moved. Pulsed. Something inside the walls was growing. I backed away, turned to the staircase, and saw the girl again. She stood on the landing, head tilted, neck bent at an impossible angle. Her feet hovered 2 inches off the floor. Strings of black liquid dripped from her empty sockets. And behind her, etched across the wall in something dark and pulsing, was a word. Return. She opened her mouth, not to speak, but to breathe. And from it came the whisper again. Only now it had a shape. A direction. It wasn't saying, "Let me out," anymore. It was saying, "Bring me back." The cellar was the only place that hadn't changed. Still damp. Still reeking of iron and old things buried deep. The stone was brighter now. The veins that crisscrossed its surface had bloomed like vines, spiraling across the walls and ceiling, burrowing into the mortar. It had become the heart of the house. And it was beating. I felt it in my chest, pounding in sync with my own heart, faster and faster. I reached out, but this time, I didn't touch it. It touched me. A tendril shot out, thin and black, and wrapped around my wrist. It was cold and slick, like oil slicking up from the ground after a rain. It didn't squeeze. Just pulsed. A handshake. A greeting. And then, images. Flashes of things I didn't want to see. A field, scorched and filled with bodies. A man nailed to a tree with his mouth sewn shut. A child covered in ash, laughing as something rose from a pit behind her. The stone wasn't just a relic. It was a seed. And it was growing again. I jerked back and the tendril snapped, flinging dark liquid across the wall. Where it hit, the stone's symbols glowed brighter. My head throbbed. Something was whispering again, low and wet, crawling around the base of my skull. I ran. But the house had changed even more. The staircase was gone. In its place, a spiral ramp of flesh-colored wood and teeth. I climbed anyway. At the top, the hallway was longer. Too long. The kind of space that folds wrong in your eyes. I walked. And walked. And walked. Every door I passed looked the same. Cracked wood, brass handle, peeling white paint. But when I opened one, I found the bedroom I'd slept in. Opened another, same room. Another, same. Endless variations of the same space. The mold on the ceiling grew thicker with each copy. The air grew wetter. Heavier. Until I opened the last door and stepped into darkness. Not a room. Not a hallway. Something under. I was back in the cellar. But this time, it was deeper. The pit had opened into a vast chamber beneath the house, an impossible expanse of stone and root. Black vines coiled across the floor like sleeping snakes. In the center, the stone. Now 10 feet high. Breathing. Around it knelt figures. 6 of them. All facing the stone. All unmoving. They didn't speak. Didn't blink. Just knelt there, heads bowed, skin slick with something too dark to be sweat. I crept closer. One of them twitched. Turned its head. Its face was gone, peeled clean off, just raw muscle and lips pulled into a grin. The whisper echoed again. Not from the stone. Not from the figure. From inside me. You are the 7th. I stumbled backward, heart clawing its way out of my chest. The figures rose as one, slow and smooth, limbs too long, too thin. They didn't move toward me. They just stared. And as they watched, I felt the floor give way. The chamber collapsed inward. Not physically. Conceptually. Space folded like paper. Air thickened into water. My breath turned to ice. I woke up in the bedroom again. Same bed. Same mold. But this time, there was something beside me. The recorder. Still playing. Only now, it wasn't my voice on the tape. It was hers. Low. Breathy. Purring like rot. 7 of 7. Harrow's blood. Root and echo. Vain and void. Return. The window was open. I hadn't opened it. Outside, the yard was no longer a yard. It was stone. A flat, black plain stretching endlessly in every direction. And beneath it, I could feel the heartbeat. I closed the window and saw my reflection in the glass. My eyes were black, and something behind them was smiling. Part 3. Beneath the skin of the house. When I was a child, my grandmother used to say that some houses are born bad, others become bad, and a rare few are just borrowed by things that were never meant to be here. Now I know which one this is. I spent the morning, or what felt like morning, staring at myself in the mirror. My reflection didn't move when I did. It blinked when I didn't. There was a wetness around its mouth, like something had been feeding. I kept telling myself it was sleep-deprived hallucination, but I knew better. This place wasn't just haunted. It was infected. The recorder played all night. I never turned it off. I couldn't. Every time I tried to shut it down, my hand would seize, fingers locking, muscles straining until I let it go. Something wanted me to hear it. Or maybe it wanted through it. At 2:11 a.m., the recording picked up something I hadn't noticed before. A name. Whispered softly, almost lovingly, wrapped in static. Caleb. My name. I hadn't told it to anyone. Not out loud. The stone knew me now. It was personal. That morning, the house started bleeding. It began as a slow drip from the ceiling in the upstairs hallway. Thick, dark, syrupy. Not red, black. Like oil curdled with ink. It spread fast. Down the walls. Through the floorboards. It oozed from cracks in the wallpaper and pooled in the corners of every room. The smell was unbearable. Copper, mildew, something like burned feathers. Every breath was pain. Every step, a sickening squelch. I stuffed towels under the doors, but it didn't stop. It never stopped. It was in the house's lungs now. And every time it exhaled, the whisper came back clearer. You brought the blood. I don't remember cutting myself. But there was a gash on my palm. Thin. Precise. Carved, not torn. The blood from it didn't drip. It pulled, as if drawn by something. The floorboards beneath my feet shimmered, hungry. I needed to leave. But there was no exit. No more windows. Just flesh stretched across where they used to be. Veined. Pulsing. I made my way to the bedroom where I'd first slept. Everything inside was reversed. The bed on the ceiling, furniture upside down, shadows cast in the wrong direction. And in the middle of the floor, a hole. Not a trapdoor. A wound. Oval-shaped, ragged at the edges, and lined with something alive. It pulsed. Breathed. Invited. I didn't step in. I don't know why. Cowardice, maybe? Or maybe something deeper warned me, if you go in, you won't come back. Instead, I turned back down the hallway. That's when I heard the voices. Not whispering now. Speaking. Chanting. From inside the walls. Dozens of voices. Some children. Some old. All wrong. They said the same phrase over and over. Beneath the skin, we wait. The hallway stretched again, just like before, but this time there were no doors. Just one, far at the end. A new one. Made of iron, bolted with black nails the size of thumbs. It bled from the keyhole. I walked toward it. I don't remember choosing to. The floor throbbed under my feet, like it was carrying me forward. When I touched the handle, it burned. Not fire, cold. The kind of cold that deadens the nerves, numbs the soul. I pushed it open. Inside was a room made of teeth. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Set into the walls, the floor, the ceiling. All sizes, human, animal, something in between. And in the center, a chair. Not wood. Not metal. Bone. Tied to the chair was a man. Or what was left of one. His mouth was sewn shut. His eyes were gone. His chest was open, ribs pulled apart like wings. But he was alive. Breathing. Barely. He turned his head toward me and made a noise. Not a scream. Not a cry. Something between a moan and a warning. His fingers twitched. Pointed to the walls. I turned and saw writing. Scrawled in blood. Over and over. She is wearing your face. I ran. I don't remember how long I ran. The halls twisted behind me, rooms shifting, ceiling crawling with black vines. I passed the kitchen, filled with hanging shapes wrapped in burlap, swinging gently, dripping. Past the bathroom, now a room filled with nothing but mirrors, every reflection turning toward me in sync, mouths open in silent laughter. I ended up back at the cellar. The stone was gone. In its place was a staircase. Spiraling down. I told myself I wouldn't go. That I'd barricade myself upstairs, wait it out, starve if I had to. But I was already moving. The staircase was lined with ribs. At the bottom, there was no chamber this time. Just open sky. Endless, black, starlit. Except the stars weren't stars. They were eyes. Thousands of them. Watching. Blinking in unison. In the center of the darkness, floating above a lake of black glass, was the stone. Now the size of a house. Beating like a heart. And she stood beside it. Wearing my face. Not just a copy. Not a doppelganger. Me. Down to the scar on my chin. The way I curled my fingers. The tilt of my head. She smiled. And said in my voice, "I don't need you anymore." The stone pulsed once. And I woke up. Back in the bed. Same moldy ceiling. Same dead silence. But everything had changed. Because now, I could feel her under my skin. Breathing. Smiling. Waiting to see what I'd do next. Part 4. The Hollowing. I don't know how long I'd been here anymore. Time doesn't work the way it should inside this house. The clocks bleed, the light bends, and when I close my eyes I see places that don't exist, rooms inside rooms, hallways filled with teeth, staircases that descend into open mouths. And always her, wearing my face. At first, I thought she was just mimicking me, a parasite copying its host. But the more I watch her, the more I realize she's not pretending. She thinks she's me. She remembers things I've forgotten. She hums songs I haven't heard since I was a child. She knows my fears, my thoughts before I have them. She doesn't follow me. She leads. And now, I'm starting to wonder if I'm the shadow. The echo. The empty one. This morning, I woke up missing a tooth. No blood. No pain. Just gone. My tongue found the gap instinctively, probing the soft pink crater. On the bathroom mirror, scratched in long, jagged strokes. One hollow at a time. Later, it was a nail. Then hair. Then a memory, my mother's voice, gone like someone had yanked the reel from my mind and burned the tape. I am being hollowed, carved from the inside out. And the worst part is, I can feel the parts that are missing. They leave behind space, cold, aching space. Like phantom limbs of the soul. It started with the mirror. Now it's the walls. They breathe louder than I do. Every few hours, one opens like a mouth, revealing glimpses of her. Not standing. Not watching. Just waiting. Behind bone. Behind roots. Sometimes she whispers to me. Sometimes she uses my voice. Other times she uses theirs. The heroes. The ones who lived here before. I've seen them now. They don't walk the halls. They live inside them. Faces pressed against the drywall like masks stretching against skin. Eyes blink through the paint. Hands push from beneath the floors. They talk to me, soft and slow. Like lullabies made of secrets. They tell me I'm ripening. That the house has been waiting for someone like me. Not to kill. Not to eat. To become. That word again. Hollow. It's not just what she's doing to me. It's what the house is. Still, hollow isn't a name. It's a description. This place was never meant to be filled with people. It was made to be empty. To host something else. I found the record player in the attic, spinning on its own. The vinyl was blank, no grooves, but it played something anyway. A man's voice. Breaking. Repeating. She took my daughter's laugh. Then her name. Then her skin. I wanted to run. But I don't even remember where the stairs are anymore. She's been rearranging the house. Personalizing it. The bedroom walls now pulse with veins. The floor creaks like a chest wheezing. The doors open to nothing but dirt, deep and wet and pulsing. And still, the stone calls me. I hear it in my teeth now, buzzing like a swarm. It's not in the cellar anymore. It's inside the walls. Inside me. Last night, I cut open my arm just to feel something real. No blood. Only a thin stream of black oil, thick and slow, that smelled like the whisper I heard that first night in the basement. I'm changing. Or being rewritten. She visits me more often now. Sometimes as me. Sometimes as someone I once loved. Sometimes, just as a voice in the corner of the room, repeating my own thoughts half a second after I think them. I nailed the mirror shut. I pulled the boards from the floor and tried to escape through the crawlspace. I found the stone there, or what it's become, no longer jagged. Now it's smooth, round, like a heart too long buried. It beat when I looked at it, and the earth around it moaned. When I reached out, I didn't mean to touch it, but my fingers moved anyway. Not pulled, not forced, just resigned. The contact was different this time. No images, no memories, just relief. Like sliding into a warm bath after a long day of being human. I felt it fill the spaces inside me, the ones she'd carved out. I felt myself melt into it, stretch across the roots, pour into the house like water into a mold. It felt good. Too good. That's how I knew it wasn't me anymore. It was her. She's not separate from the stone. She is the stone. The house. The hunger. She's the whisper that calls to the hollow places inside all of us. And I answered. I came here willingly, curious, eager to poke the corpse, to document the rot, to make it into a story. But she doesn't want stories. She wants skin, and mine is starting to itch from the inside. I don't know if I can stop it, or if I even want to. But there's one thing I still remember. One thing that hasn't been taken. The basement door. It's still there. Now at the end of the hallway where the kitchen used to be. Behind it, a new staircase. A final descent. I think I have to go back down. To where the stone was first planted. To where the harrows were broken. To where she waits. To finish where I started. To end it. Or join her. Part 5, where the mouth ends. The hallway stretched before me like a throat. The walls pulsed. The air thickened. The floor dipped slightly with each step, like I was walking on something soft, something alive beneath the wood. The basement door was where I left it, but now it breathed. Not metaphorically. It inhaled as I approached. The wood flexed outward, expanding with a wet creak. The knob throbbed in my hand. I opened it. There was no staircase. Only a slope of stone slick with black moss, descending into a lightless wound in the earth. The air reeked of rot and wet leaves. The scent of something older than memory. I stepped inside. Behind me, the door disappeared. Walls melted into darkness. The house was no longer a structure. It was a body. And I was walking through its gullet. I descended slowly, flashlight useless against the thickness of the dark. I couldn't tell how long I walked. There were no clocks here. No signs of time. Just sound. A heartbeat. Faint. Rhythmic. Growing louder with each step. And over it, the whispering. No longer subtle. Now it was a choir. Dozens of voices, all mine. Screaming from just beyond the edge of hearing. I stumbled into a chamber. Massive. Impossible. A hollow beneath the world, wide and round, ribbed with bone. And in its center, the stone. Final form. A monument of obsidian flesh, 40 feet tall, pulsing and wet, covered in mouths. Some wept. Some sang. Some whispered endlessly, languages I could almost understand. Caleb. 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 I fell to my knees. Not in reverence. In surrender. She was already inside me. My skin was tight. My voice no longer mine. My memories flickered like dying film reels. Each breath felt more like hers. She stepped from behind the stone, wearing my face still, but changed. Better. Sharper. Stronger. More whole. She had finished becoming me. And now she didn't need me anymore. She opened her mouth and said the thing I'd been dreading. Thank you? The mouths on the stone echoed it. Thank you? Thank you? Thank you? She reached out to touch me, and I felt it. The final piece slipping away. The last thing that made me, me. My name. My will. But then, I saw the recorder in her other hand. Mine. Still running. Still whispering. She'd kept it. Not to mock me. To remember. Because even gods fear forgetting where they came from. And in that moment I knew what to do. I lunged. Not at her. At the stone. I jammed my hand into the biggest mouth. It bit down, but I didn't pull away. I let it take what it wanted. My voice. My identity. Everything. And as it swallowed, I spoke for the first time in days. Not with words. With will. One last thought. End. The stone screamed. Not loud. Deep. The kind of sound that splits mountains from within. Mouths tore open too wide. The chamber shook. Roots ripped from the walls. Her form, my face, flickered. Glitched. Shimmered like heat over a black road. She stepped back. And for a moment, I saw her. The real her. Not a woman. Not a demon. Something older. A hollow made flesh. Born from silence. Fed on identity. A parasite of belief. I let the stone consume me. But not quietly. Not passively. I chose it. And that broke the ritual. It needed surrender. Not sacrifice. The rules mattered. Even to her. She screamed again. And the hollow collapsed. I woke on the side of Highway 21. Alone. Dusty. Scarred. But alive. No house. No stone. No voice. Just the road and my blood and the distant call of birds overhead. My phone was dead. My car gone. But I was here. Me. Mostly. They found me 2 days later, walking barefoot toward the gas station. The old man behind the counter didn't ask where I'd been. He just looked at me, then pointed to the radio. Static. Soft. And behind it, a whisper. My voice. Saying, "Let me out." The end.